la lolo Komongole la kote alala Simone Su Tomane kangeja Muge musani muge damtuma Tabu Simone Su Yambale 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 Mini ali bala mina kongoro abala yugu yamale
Kunyama ubofu so ibama
Yena fidel ke Namadani sari yugu sole Tobrilo sodi kara Bagumana kala konodona Sina sina ba Loni sina ba Fakhore kumba Kori bara mani kori baranda Bulaka mogolandi ni abula mansanandi Bula salale maye bula te karabala Mfato manisu
Oila nina weka wanyo Usulu soito Ukabashi sula mpemu Weka wanyo Usulu soito
Yamanyi Maneka ya teso Maneka ya teso
Weka wanyo
Yes la na do so Kenya Tobri iaye Yamanyi Su Kenya teso
Weka wanyo
Yes la na do so Kenya Tobri iaye
Tinanzi ingane kwani manje angitshele ukuthi uthando olungaka umaphi na umaphi na yaqala inganekwane yethu ngikutshela indaba yathi lalela phela yathi kwasukela uzwini yaqala inganekwane yethu yaqala inganekwane yethu athi ngiphinde futhi yathi kwasukela kwasukela kwasuka indaba bese yaphela ngokufana kwetanga angazi ngani odale ngakuthanda kanjena engane kwane awuthi ngikutshela indaba wena silima ungenzi isidwedwe sakho kungani na ongithina zingane kwanye akumele ulalele nansingane kwanye hayi kodwa uzozisa uma ungaqoli uzozisa uma angizange ngikutshele bo la 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 yeah angithi uzosola la 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 yeah oh angithi uzosola angithi uzosola ngiyakutshela ngiyakuthambisa ukuthi uzosona ungathi angikutshelanga nga ihaba leli cha phela engane kwa cos yaphela oh ah oh oh hey ah oh ah ah hey hey ah oh ah. Inenkani, inenkani, inenkane.
There's music in the air. It makes your sorrow go. Let the music take you there, far from the world you know. And he's still feeling it. You can feel it when you say a world made for love, and he's getting down. You can feel it when you say world made for love. If ever sometime you come to hear the song, let the music take you there, far from the world you know. I can feel it when I say then I know love. There's a joy in everything. World made for love. Look for love in the music, lost in the melody. You'll find love. Look for love in the music, lost in the melody. You'll find love. You'll find love. You'll find love in music. 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 And those three beautiful sisters said this to us.
Itenani ngizwe kahle, ngifuna ukushintsha umhlaba. Wanelege moyeni ebafani sana wabanika ithemba lakudala ungasinga zizifiso ezabaphambili amaphupho akudala sizowafeza kanjani ayasidinga basicelile ayasidinga basicelile likhona ithemba ukuthi amaphupho abo azofezeka
My mother was a kitchen girl, my father. We got him off and that's why I'm the commandant. My mother, it is
Uzabalaza, 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 uzabalaza. Uzabalaza, 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 uzabalaza. Ole, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Ole, ole, bae, Tambo, Tambo. Ole, ba. Amandla! Away, two. Viva the spirit of Oliver Reginald Tambo, viva. Long live OR, long live. Sanbonani, Dumelang, Absheni, Itinenye, Enda. Good evening, comrades, colleagues, distinguished guests. My name is Mandom Bingosi, and I am the program director for today's session, for today's distinguished session. I think I'll be using distinguished a lot today. Yeah, so on behalf of our Tambo leadership, I would like to extend a warm welcome to today's lecture. We gather here today to honor the life, the leadership, the legacy of Comrade Oliver Reginald Tambo, who was an astute freedom fighter, who taught us that dialogue, unity, and principled leadership are the cornerstone of nation building. Now, today's theme, okay, they've removed it. Now, today's theme is From Kliptown to Kodisa, to the national dialogue, reclaiming O.R. Tambo's legacy of people-led solutions. Now, history has taught us that as South Africans, we've always been a nation that prefers dialogues over divisions. We've seen this through the Congress of the people from in 1995 all the way to the Kodisa. So we've always resolved, or rather believed in dialogues rather than divisions. And today we face new challenges. We gather again to reflect on the spirit of a people-led dialogue and how that can assist us in this new democracy. Now, it is my honor to then call upon the COSATU representative, and his name is Kader Alfred Mafulega, who is the national educator of COSATU, who is our host today. So, Comrade Alfred, may you come forward to give us a warm welcome. Thank you.
Amanda. Yeah, comrade, this is a difficult task, but it's simple in other words. To come and welcome here. I'm Alfred Mafulega, that's my name. I'm in the education department, the national educator for COSATU. We know that perhaps we should be with the elected leadership. We are officials. COSATU works on the basis of worker control, meaning that the federation belongs to the workers, not officials like us. So we are standing in for the officials. My job now is just to welcome you at this revolutionary house, COSATU, to say feel free to engage on the discussions, on the debate. We are having Comrade, the former deputy president. I think that's she would be happy just to refer to as that. I'm not introducing her, comrade. It's the topic that she's dealing with, the theme, which is from CODESA to the national dialogue. CODESA, which brought us where we are today. There was talks about talks when the leaders were released in 1989, and then the National Constituent Assembly began, and then that legacy of dialogue began, and we are about OR Tambo, Istwalande. OR Tambo led the ANC for a very long time, comrade. COSATU, its predecessor, SACTU, South African Congress of Trade Unions, was part of the Congress Alliance. So COSATU took over that legacy from its predecessor. Even the slogans, an injury to one is an injury to all, adopted that from SACTU in 1955. So when COSATU was born in 1985, it took all the traits and the practices and the legacy that the labor movement in South Africa had through its predecessor, Federation, South African Congress of Trade Unions. So with those few words, comrades, I'm welcoming you to COSATU. This is the second floor, the training center of COSATU. You are at the right place, comrades. Maybe those who have gadgets, there's a Wi-Fi there. It's you can check it behind the door there to connect. But of course, you will keep your gadgets in silence, comrades. Maybe the other things like the bathrooms, they are outside, out of the glass door. The males one, you go down the steps. The female bathrooms, you go up the steps. I think that's all, comrade. Thank you. You are welcome.
Thank you so much for that. Actually, Comrade Alfred, I was asking if where are the bathrooms. I think I forgot to announce where the bathrooms are. So thank you very much for that warm welcome. I think we are going to have some great discussions today. Now it is my honor to then call upon the OR Tambo principal, Comrade David Makura, who will give us the purpose of the public lecture, who will basically tell us why exactly are we here. And yeah, Comrade David Makura, principal, over to you.
Amandla. Amandla. Awethu. Matla. Kiaruna. Matimba. Aina. Long live the fighting spirit of OR Tambo. Long live. Good evening, comrades. Greetings to Mam Pumzile Mlambo Nguka, our guest speaker, former Deputy President of the Republic. Greetings to Comrade Phoebe Potgieter, a member of the National Executive Committee, who is going to be the only respondent to the keynote message speech addressed by Mam Pumzile. Greetings also to our colleagues from FES, led by Catherine. FES is a great partner of the progressive movement in our country. In many initiatives we have on matters of policy, on matters of training and development, FES works with us. We want to acknowledge you. Also greetings to our host, COSATU, the leadership of COSATU. In absentia, our colleagues from COSATU, the team from education, Comrade Alfred and Comrade Babsi. Comrade Babsi sitting there at the back. COSATU education team is essentially hosting our master classes and dialogues. And this is a beautiful venue. As I said 2 weeks ago when you hosted us here on the master class on geopolitics and trade, this is a beautiful venue. I want to acknowledge the member of the board of the OR Tambo School, our chair of this meeting, Comrade Mantombi Nkosi. She is a member of the board of the OR Tambo School. And I will say, most importantly, the young people in this room and the comrades who have joined virtually. But in this room, we have young people. And this is a very deliberate design that all our programs of the OR Tambo School, so we have essentially, Comrade Phoebe is gravitating towards a policy now. All our programs, the majority of our programs must target the youth. The attendants, the participants should be young people because the youth are the future. All this political education, experience, knowledge, the insights that Mam Pumzile is going to be sharing on where we come from, our experience as a country in getting people to sit down and talk and hammer out solutions, but also a vision. All that knowledge must be passed to the youth so that our young people are appropriately prepared and equipped with the necessary skills to provide leadership to our country. Often we use the phrase, the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but that phrase actually creates a sense that there are leaders of today. So we need to basically ensure that young people are ready to provide leadership as we raise them in our families. We raise leaders in our families. We bring up our children as the leaders. Our education system must do the same. So the basic education must be a site of leadership development. We don't say they are leaders of tomorrow. They are leaders of today. We are raising our youth. We are investing in them. All the capabilities and the skills and the knowledge and the wisdom being imparted, as I say, both in families but also in our formal education system, must be very deliberate and very systematic. It must be very intentional. Because when we complain that there is a leadership problem in society, we must know that we are basically pointing that finger at ourselves. Because leadership is not something that is for somebody and not for you. Leadership is for you and I. You don't have to be in a position to be a leader. You don't need a position to be a leader. But every one of us has capabilities. We have dispositions to assume and play leadership role in society. And leadership is basically about the ability to solve problems, to bring people together, to bring a group of people together, to mobilize, inspire people, to find solutions to problems, but also to work collectively with people and inspire each other, inspire one another to reach our goals, often very ambitious goals and very ambitious dreams. I'm saying all this because we are hosting this as the Oliver Regional Tambo School of Leadership. We are a school of leadership. And there's a lot of work we have to do to demystify this thing called leadership. Because people say, there comes the leadership. And when someone comes there, they say, leadership, how are you? They are not referring to themselves. And people, when there are problems in the household or problems in the community, they say we must look for the leadership. So which means they see leadership as somebody else, some elite. I'm not the leader, they are the leadership. They are the leaders, I'm not the leader. So as we do that, you're taking responsibility away from people. And that's why it's easy to sit down and blame the problems. You hear the leaders complaining that there's no leadership. The leaders complain that we have a problem of leadership in that kind of. So what our school seeks to do is to cultivate leadership orientation, mindset. Every one of us must exercise leadership every day in our own sphere of influence. And we're investing in the youth so that we can have great leaders in our society. So Mampumzile, we really, really enjoy every time we invite you. We had a session with you. We're able to share in the wisdom that you have accumulated over many years. So the topic that we're going to deal with, our country faces many challenges. It's about dialoguing. It's about the culture and the practices of dialoguing to solve problems in society. So as you see, our topic says from Kliptown to Codesa and to the national dialogue. How do we build the country of our dreams? And again, the idea is that it is not somebody else's responsibility. It is the responsibility of each and every one of us to rise up to the challenge and provide leadership in solving the problems of our country. And not think that there will be somebody, the Messiah, who will one day come and help us. And there would possibly be many, many capable people amongst us here. So I want to welcome you and say the OR Tambo School is in its infancy, but it's an infant that is really moving fast now. We are a 7-year-old infant. We're now building on what we have done in the first 7 years of the school's existence from 2018. We did very basic programs, the introduction to political studies. We have trained over 60,000 people on introduction to political studies. We have now also worked with the broad system to do foundation course in the ANC. The foundation course is another set of political education programs. We have collectively trained 125,000 people across the country. And now we are shaping up for real big leadership programs. We want to be intentional. But today we are focusing on the national dialogue. And I want to welcome you and say that we look forward to hearing from Deputy President Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka, and Comrade Phoebe Potgieter is going to join in that conversation. I just need to say Comrade Phoebe has been very central to the national dialogue process. So when she responds to your wisdom, Mama, she will also share with us where that process is. But the idea is, how do we mobilize the people of our country to find solutions to their problems? And the OR Tambo School is a solution provider. We will be there. We will be there in each. We are not going to sit on the sidelines and complain about lack of leadership. We will be there. And you, all of you will be there. Even online, you will be there. We count on you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, great stuff. Thank you very much, Principal. I think, yeah, Sizwile. One is Kolosia Kuba. I think you've heard the work that the school is actually doing. And one of the key things that I think I take from the purpose of this session that Comrade David Makura has said is that leadership is not something that's far from us. We are the leaders, and leadership is not tied to a leadership structure, you know. And when he says that OR Tambo School is the solution, you are the OR Tambo School. And we're then going to take this forward. So now I would like to call upon, I'm very uncomfortable, okay. Now I would like to call upon the FES Director, Catherine, and I'm going to quickly read her bio, who is just going to give us a message of support. Catherine is the Director of the FES since June this year. She is a feminist, a unionist, a social democrat. For the last 4.5 years, she has been the director of the Regional Trade Union Project of Sub-Saharan South Africa of the FES based in Johannesburg. Since 2004, her work at FES has taken her to different stations, including as resident representative in Ghana, Zimbabwe, and Ecuador. So, Comrade Catherine, over to you.
Amandla. Good evening. It's such a pleasure to look into so many young faces. And I'm very happy to see so many of you interested in this topic. The Deputy President, Comrade Phoebe, Comrade Makura, the comrades from COSATU, and all representatives of the many organizations present here. It's such a pleasure and also an honor for me to be here and welcome you on behalf of FES. For us, it is an honor that we can partner you on this important lecture. I understand this is the first of upcoming annual lectures that you are planning as you are moving fast out of your infancy, as you were saying, Comrade Makura. I can see that there is a lot of interest in that. So well done. For me, particularly, this is the day of history lessons on South Africa. We've had a wonderful workshop today that we hosted at FES on the history of the labor movement in South Africa and a project of building an archive of the labor history and the labor movement in South Africa. The very rich history that is in part manifested here in this building where we are now. And I found it so inspiring and encouraging. Sometimes when we look at the here and now, we feel a bit depleted. We look at the many challenges. But I mean, if we look back that there were challenges. There were huge challenges, and they were overcome, and they were overcome collective. They were overcome in struggle. And I think it's as much as I come inspired out of the discussions of today. I hope that you also come out inspired of the engagements now today. It is so important to build on what has been there before us, to learn from it, both the good and the bad. I mean, there were mistakes made, and it's important to engage with that and to learn from that, and to move forward and not to move backwards. I must say, when I was looking at the title, I thought, is this a unilateral line in history? The Freedom Charter, CODESA, and now the National Dialogue. I think that history will tell us, and we will define that history. You will define that history. And I think you have stated very well, Comrade Makura, it is also in your hands. As far as I have followed the discussions around the national dialogue, the expectations, the heavy criticism, the skepticism that is there, and I think in part also justified from what people have been experiencing from politics all over. It is also an opportunity. It is a huge opportunity for this country. It is not an everyday exercise that citizens are heard, are asked to speak, are asked to name the problems, and are asked to criticize what's around it, are asked to say what has to change. And if we think of the conditions under which the Freedom Charter was developed and the conditions under which CODESA took place, I think the challenges that we are facing now, that you are facing now, they should be more of an encouragement rather than an intimidation or a reason to resign. There is a lot that has to be overcome. Use that national dialogue to really put your thoughts, put your ideas into the space, and then here I disagree a little bit with Comrade Makura. Yes, everybody can show leadership in their space, but the leaders that do hold the power that also have to listen, and they do have to be the ones that drive the implementation. And if they don't, then you hold them accountable. So I'm really looking forward to experiencing this process in South Africa, not just reflecting on the history, but seeing history being made with the national dialogue. I think it's a great opportunity. It's the opportunity for you to shape your future and to work on bringing out the people-led solutions. And I know that you know those solutions. The people know the solutions. I mean, talking to anyone, there's great ideas. There is a lot of creativity and a lot of spirit in the country that I think needs to be put to action. And I think that this gives you the opportunity to bring out the beauty of this country, the beauty that maybe at this point is often coming out as we are thinking a bit nostalgically about South Africa. But I think it's time to not just rely on the resilience of the South Africans that has been really stretched to the tipping point, but rather to, at 31 years old, still not an infant, but young, right? Still part of the youth. At 31 years old, I think South Africa should rely on the dreams of its people and realize those dreams to become that promise. I think that the generations before you has made or has really struggled forward. So I'm saying fingers crossed from my side. I think you have it in your hands and really use that opportunity. Thank you very much. Amandla.
Thank you so much, Comrade Catherine, for that deeply reflective message of support. Now we are going to call upon Comrade Zanele, who are going to get down to the business of the day, finally, the public lecture. But firstly, we are going to call upon Comrade Zanele, who is going to officially introduce our main speaker, our distinguished guest. Comrade Zanele.
I know I'm very short. Yeah. Thank you very much. It's such an honor to be in front of you to introduce Ma, one of the people that we all admire and that has been very exemplary for us as young women in South Africa. Dr. Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka is a distinguished South African leader, gender equality advocate, equality, and a former United Nations Under-Secretary General and Executive Director of UN Women, where she served from 2013 to 2021. She served as South Africa's Deputy President from 2005 until 2008 and was our first woman to hold that position. And has dedicated her career to advancing women's rights, education, and social justice. Dr. Mlambo Ngcuka is founding of Mlambo Foundation, which supports leadership and education in disadvantaged schools and continues to champion inclusive development and empowerment across Africa and the world. I wish to call upon us to stand up and raise Ma with a nice guijo in our old tradition and culture. Mama.
Mandla, Amandla, Viva Cosatu, viva! Viva! Viva Cosatu, viva! Viva! Viva OR Tambo School of Leadership, viva! Viva! Viva ANC, viva! Viva! Viva Nawe Qaban! Viva! Comrade Principal David Makura and the leadership of the school who are here and not here, thank you for having us. The leadership of the ANC, member of the ANC, Phoebe, members and leadership of the SACP, COSATU, SANCO, and all the leagues of the ANC, but in particular, the Youth League. I also would like to greet the leadership of FES in South Africa. Thank you for the support that you give us. And I do want to especially also just say viva to the women in the room and young women in particular, because this is their time. I think we can agree about that, and I will elaborate on that as I speak. Thank you for inviting me, but also thank you to the school for doing the work that you do, because at the heart of the challenges we face in South Africa is the fact that we so much need to invest in preparing not just our young people, but especially our young people and all of us to be the cadre we have to be. It is not a given that when we get into the many positions and areas of responsibilities that we are assigned to, we will shine. We need guidance, we need assistance, we need criticism, we need nurturing. We need to be shown what it is that we have to do. So thank you for doing this work for the movement and for the country. And today we gather here to look back and to reflect also on the state of our country today, as well as to consider how we are going to be moving forward. Sometimes it may feel like it's a luxury to be engrossed in the past, but actually, as Comrade Makura was saying, there's a lot that we learn in what we have done and where we have been. Everything about our past gives us a provision lesasiphatha ngebasket mawuzohamba indlela to umphako gives you umphako that you are going to need on the way. Our past, in just the lives we have lived, had a lot of pain in them, but also a lot of triumphs. And we like to look back and reflect about how we were able to rise every time we were down. And one thing that stands out about our past is that we were led. And that leadership provided us with something to hold on to. We are now at a defining moment, at the point at which we are, and I think we can all agree that it is not our highest point. It is a low point, but rise we must. And the education that we are getting through these sessions like today is meant to really encourage us to be ready to rise. We have to remember that we stand on the shoulders of those who dared not just to dream about freedom and equality, but who built it from scratch, brick by brick. For some of us who are as old as the Freedom Charter itself, I always say that's my twin. The Freedom Charter is my twin. It feels like we've lived under apartheid, and we fought apartheid with everything we had, and thank God we triumphed. We proceeded to build a country and a democracy with a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. And then we went on to weaponize against our democracy and to cannibalize each other. And we poured cold water on Ubuntu, one of the most valuable principles that has kept us together, which needs to be nurtured. So the Freedom Charter in 1955 brought together everyone, our parents, people in the community, trade union, young people, old people, religious people. It was really a festival of ideas. And those people could not have agreed on everything, but there was a sufficient consensus for the journey to begin. They gave each other time to sit, discuss, debate, disagree, agree, and they held together. And they gave us Umkombandlela. They were able to clearly state that with everything we do, represented in the way in which we are, it is the people who will govern. They made sure that power was to the people. And then they identified the problems in our society that we needed to solve. Problems of education, housing, security, land, the economy, and all those issues were reflected in the Freedom Charter. They also reflected the type of leadership that has honesty, compassion, and purpose. Because when we join an organization such as the ANC, that is a freedom of association. You choose to join, not because you just want to get something out of it. Fundamental about you has to be wanting to be a solution maker and to bring yourself, your talent, in order to be of service to humanity. That is what happened in Kliptown. And people who are leaders in our space, they do so not because they want rewards. It's not about what I can get, it's about what I can give. And that is fundamental, because if you cannot do that, you shouldn't be there. You really shouldn't be there, because you can create a lot of chaos and pain, and we've seen that. The leaders that were together in Cape Town espoused servant leadership, which reflected this understanding that I am explaining. They knew that leadership is about serving others and not to be served. So this is the message of the many fighters who have led our movement. And that generation is sadly becoming, beginning to disappear. We are holding the tail end of that generation, and we just have a little window to suck everything and anything you can, so that as you continue to lead, because as young people, we are already leading now, you take all that you need from this generation to use it for the long way you still have to walk. We also have to make sure that we manage these intergenerational dialogues where we think and work together still. We need to make sure that our moral compass also is clear. Leadership also expects a higher sense of morality. It expects you to be ethical, and it expects you to have integrity. And integrity is that good thing you do when no one is looking. It is not about people clapping at you. It is about you do because it is important in you here. And when you come here to learn at the School of Leadership, it is that thing that has to stay inside you that you are trying to feed. So that in times of needs, when you have to stand up in that meeting, abantu be better, you can stand up and make a point because it is in you. It's like your heart, you take it everywhere you go. In Kliptown, we also know that the expectation was that that spirit that was generated there is what we were going to generate in our whole country, in our society. We tried to fuse it into our constitution, as you know. And we then got ready for the next chapter. In the interim, we had the United Democratic Front, another important movement in our history. It did not have maybe the ideological tightness that the ANC had. We made it easy for people to come as they are into the UDF. But we invested time and energy to work so that whoever got into the UDF should never be the same. Something that we have to continue to do in the ANC so that we don't have cadres who do not know where we are trying to go. The UDF had also some of the same tenets that we find which were in Kliptown, in that it brought people together from all walks of life, all ages, young, old, black, white, able, disabled, religious, non-religious, everybody could be there and could see themselves. And I think what we can draw from what was in Kliptown and what we find in the UDF is that when we come together to solve problems and we're open to everybody, we are not a select group of people, and we embrace everyone's ideas, we come out stronger. Because I think when I look around the house, I think many of you were not born here. Mhlambe nje yimi nje no David nje no Phoebe nyana, but abanye benu sasibaphethe. But we really learned in the UDF to hold each other's hands. If you talk about the Rainbow Nation in South Africa, the UDF was the rainbow. I remember in Cape Town once we had a march when we came from the cathedral. It was led by Archbishop Tutu, and the police were trying to catch. And then we got into the city center, and because the police were following us, and we just dispersed, and they were trying to catch anyone who was part of the march so that they just would be happy to have arrested somebody. So they came with a water tank with purple water, and they were spraying so that if, you were sprayed purple, then they will know that you were in the march. We managed to get away, and we congregated Kwalanga, and we said, the purple shall govern. And those were the days. From CODESA, from UDF, we got into CODESA. CODESA, again, another gathering. A gathering of people who are not quite similar. We had our enemies in CODESA. We had to learn to work with the people we do not like. We had to find that sufficient consensus to take us to the next step and to hold the country together. That is what CODESA was about. Very difficult, but we pulled through and we were able to create a country. We were able to have elections. We were able to have a constitution and begin our journey of the new South Africa. And we had opened ourselves again to agreement and disagreements, and to drive up to a point where we had something tangible that we could take forward. Having been with people who are not made in our image, we tried to create a new image that would carry everyone in the country. So we started to build a new South Africa. We gave it our all as we started. We were able to ensure that we addressed access to the health services, access to education, provision of houses, but also we're able to handle a transition that did not lead into another war as it had happened in many other countries. We were able to build institutions on which this democracy would grow on. And those institutions were important for us at difficult times. The judiciary was, the press has been. So we were the envy of the African continent, and our building of a strong democracy was really positive for the continent. People identified with us and took whatever they thought they could use in their country. We had a possibility of generating good practice for the continent. We began to cannibalize and to weaponize from within. We probably left the doors open and the wolves came in. We probably did not spend enough time doing what we're doing now, making sure that the people who came into the ANC knew exactly what the ANC is and what are the values. We probably did not say enough to the people that the ANC is not about serving you, it is about you serving the people. And therefore, who we were and what we're supposed to do got confused. I want to believe that you are here today because you want to be that cadre that wants to serve the people. Am I right? Am I right? We are here now. This is the state of the nation. And we really have to rewrite the script on which we are going to read going forward. And that is what we expect to see in the dialogue. We want to see the same value system that we saw in Kliptown. We want to feel it. It's difficult to see it now, but we have to try because we have nothing else. I just want to talk to the women who have been missing in action for the last 2 decades, especially in the decision-making of this country. We just disappeared. We became abantu abantu members zabo. Khona amakhosikazi kabani. I don't mean in the in the Nkosikazi sense. You know, we did not have our own identity, our own feminist core that works for the principles that we are about. But at the same time, we have also been able to see a lot of exceptional and good women in our country. And I've seen that in young women because we have to defeat patriarchy. Because we have to save la madoda kule nto abakuyo embi kangaka apha emhlabeni. We need to bring everyone's talent, men, women, young, old, as broad as we were in Kliptown, as broad as we were in the UDF. We have to bring all that energies for the rebuilding of the country, but I need women to be in front now. Because you have to be part of this process and make your utmost contribution because you have not given it your all. So, as change izinto, the gifts that you can bring in problem solving, which is leadership, is all about, have to work for the people of South Africa, have to work for the men and women and children of this country. The dialogue also, in my view, has really to address what is this democracy? Because we have people who are properly elected making the worst mess. People who are in key positions because we have empowered them with our votes. And these are the people who are taking the money that we need to support poor people, ogogo, and everything that we need in the country. So there is something about democracy that isn't quite working for us. We have to redefine what democracy means for us. It saddens me that democracy is something that we took from those who colonized us and tried to use it for ourselves. And actually, if you just think back a little of all the countries that are colonized in Africa, especially, I don't know of a country in Africa where democracy have worked very well. But I'm also not advocating for the opposite of democracy. We need something that's in Ubuntu. Because otherwise, this democracy we have, which we are taking from the West, is hollow. That is why we have properly elected people who will mislead us. Leadership is role model. If once you become a leader, we role model. Are we a celebrity? We role model. So what you do, you always have to think about it because other people are trying to learn from you. You have to be conscious about the fact that people must learn something from looking at me and how I do things. And if we define democracy for ourselves now, which I don't even think we have to call it democracy, I don't know what we call it, maybe just Ubuntu, it really has to have all these core things that will make sure that we don't turn against each other. I listened to Begi earlier today, ekhuluma in Parliament, at about 56 elite, highly trained policemen, best trained for the most difficult situations. some from the army. It says to train one person, it takes you almost up to R1 million to have those skills. 56 of them have left the police and the army, basebenzela amateksi. What is that? And yini le amateksi, and why should the taxi industry need these highly trained people who are trained to deal with the most dramatic situations in society? So this is just one example that shows us that we took the eyes off the ball and so much has happened. And now we have to really pull our socks, pull our sleeves, and all hands on deck. Let us make sure that we make this country what it can be. What a beautiful country. What amazing people. The gift of young people that we have in this country that we can invest in and the changes they can bring about. Because if we have not invested in them, it means then they become a burden and we miss an opportunity. It does not become an advantage. The youth dividend does not become an advantage to us. It becomes a burden. So we have to do our homework, invest in young people, invest in women, and make sure that tomorrow will be better than today. And today has to be better than yesterday. Thank you.
Shoo. Can we just give a round of applause again? Shoo, shoo, shoo. Mama, thank you so much for that thought-provoking, powerful, deeply reflective, informative lecture. But I think Comrade Phoebe will do her reflections, and she's the only respondent. I am inspired, though. You know, I am inspired a lot. There's so much I took from today's discussion. I think in the main critical to today's discussion is the importance of a people-led dialogue, and a dialogue that it's not elitist, but involves everyone. Everyone must be part of the discussion. And Mama, I'm a feminist, by the way. Love it. What I like about what you said is that we need to end patriarchy. I just wish that some men could understand that patriarchy is not damaging to women, but to men as well. And I wish we got to that point where they really understood how damaging patriarchy is. So I could speak the whole day, Mama. I'm very inspired. Thank you very much. Very excited. But thank you so much. That was extremely powerful. I think next in the program, before I get too excited, is our respondent, Comrade Phoebe Potgieter. I'm just going to quickly read a quick profile. Comrade Phoebe Potgieter is the member of the ANC National Executive Committee and one of President Ramaphosa's emissaries in the National Dialogue, who was also part of the preparatory task team and the National Convention Organizing Committee. I think I'm going to end there. There's so much I could say. You've led in the Youth League, etc. But Comrade Phoebe, over to you.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Deputy President, the Principal of the school, Comrade Catherine from FES, the comrades from COSATU, and everybody present here as well as online. I am feeling very intimidated, I must say, Comrade Pumzile. Because I remember meeting Comrade Pumzile as a 19-year-old in 1985. in the Western Cape. And one of the things that I remember about her was that she was an educationist. So always talking to us in the student movement about, when we were boycotting the whole year, that education is important, that we are not going to be able to build the country if we don't invest in our education. So that's one of the things that she's always been very passionate about. And I think even as deputy president, that has been one of the flagship of the kind of things that she did. But in addition to that, I think that I was from the Eastern Cape, went to UWC in 1985. So, I'm not that young anymore. And one of the things about that I think that really for my generation was the fact that we still were exposed to a lot of women that were part of the 1954 FETSO conference and the adoption of the Women's Charter. Mam Mildred Lucia, Comrade Helen Joseph, Comrade Francis Bart, Dorothy Nyembe. I mean, you can just go on and mention the names. So we were exposed to that generation, but we were also exposed to the next generation, Comrade Pumzile, Comrade Jesse Duarte, Comrade Victoria Mkenge, et cetera, et cetera. So in a sense, we had examples that we learned from. And that is why I can stand here to talk today, because one of the things that they taught us to have voice. Even as young women at the time. And we really want to thank the generations that went before us that set that example. We started off, the program started off with a Freedom Charter, but I always like to remind, and Makura knows that I always do that, to say that there was 1955, but before that there was 1954. And what happened in 1954? Women came together from the trade union movement, from the Communist Party, from the ANC Women's League, from the religious sector, and they formed the Federation of South African Women. And at that conference, they also adopted a women's charter. So a year before the Freedom Charter was adopted, women said, we need to come together and adopt a charter because, yes, we suffer from national liberation, but the way it impacts on Black women is very particular because we are women. So they talked about already then about equal work for equal pay. They already talked about the importance of childcare, etc. So when we talk about dialoguing, as per usual, the women led the way. A whole year before the adoption of the Freedom Charter. So why a national dialogue now? And this is a question that's been asked, and I think that Comrade Pumzile made the point that our country faces a whole range of different crises. The crisis of poverty, that we, started to begin to address it with our social wage, and what we've seen over the last 12, 15 years, that poverty is beginning to increase. We, for example, for the first time begin to see children dying of malnutrition, which we thought we left behind in 1994. And we remember what Madiba said, that how the success of a nation and the empathy of a nation is determined by how we treat its children. So if our children die in hospitals, and these are the ones that we know about because they die in hospitals of malnutrition, we don't know about those ones who pass away at home. So that's just one example and a barometer of the kind of issues that our national dialogue must address, to be able to say to all of us, 30 years after democracy, how do we come to terms with the fact that we need a new face in our country, that we need to look ahead, and we shouldn't feel that it's something to be ashamed of as South Africans. If you talk about the Chinese, after 40 years after the Cultural Revolution, and the Communist Party of China took over, they also reached a point where they said, we can't continue like this. We need a reset. We need to think about how do we move towards the future and solve the problems of today so that future generations don't have to sit with the same. And South Africa is at that point, 30 years into democracy, where we then have to say, how do we move forward and how do we reset? So the national dialogue, we spoke about that it should be people-centered. The program director, Comrade Pumzile, talked about that, the lessons from the Kliptown, the lessons from the Freedom Charter, from the UDF, from CODESA, that it should be about people and people-driven. And that's one of the principles of the national dialogue today, that it should be citizen-led. And the reason why it's citizen-led is not because it's anti-government or it's anti-this or anti-whoever, but it's citizen-led because at the end of the day, we have to revive citizen agency. And I think that the question about redefining the nature of our democracy is part of it. Because what we've done is to outsource our development to government. So we're saying that we've got a problem of education or gender-based violence, and what is government doing about it? And yes, government needs to do things, but government can't police how I treat my girlfriend or my partner or, the person next door. As citizens, we all have a responsibility to be part of the solution, to be part of the solutions to problems, and work with government around that. And this is why the principle of people-led and citizen-led of the national dialogue is so important. And this is why the national dialogue in its roadmap looks at about 50,000 what they call citizen-led dialogues over the year or 2 years, however long the national dialogue will last. And what it means is that I can be a book club or a stokvel, and I can say that I want to organize a dialogue in my book club or in my stokvel or in my men's group. And you can go and register, and in your discussion, make sure that the suggestions that you make as the stokvel or as the book club or as the Umanyano gets to a national level and inform the end product of the national dialogue. So we're looking at 50,000 of those, and it's the number was set as deliberately ambitious because we want to, no matter how small, no matter how large, if COSATU wants to have a national dialogue because it's got 1 million members and it wants to do it with all of its affiliates and workers, that's one form of dialoguing. But in addition to that, it should also be small groups. It should be sectors, women, youth, young women, people in rural areas, cooperatives. So we're looking at about 50,000 of those kind of dialogues. In addition to that, because we know that not everybody is organized, there will also be about 13,000 ward-based dialogues. So about 3, 4, 5 per ward. Because remember, there's about 4,000, 5,000 wards throughout the country. So you may find that there's a community that's maybe not that organized, that weren't covered by this 50,000 dialogues. Every single place in South Africa have at least 3 dialogues. And that's the reason why we're also looking at the ward-based dialogues. The third set of dialogues is specifically aimed at students and young people. So one of the proposals that's been made to the president and to the eminent persons group and the incoming steering committee of the National Dialogue is that we should have National Dialogue Day, where in schools we can have debates about what kind of South Africa do we want? What is our approach towards multilingualism? What is our approach towards bullying? Do we agree that we should have maths literacy? Because of course, the students are the ones that see whether this is useful or not, in addition to the educationist. to have those dialogues in every single school throughout the country, to ask the question, as young people, what do we see for the future and what contribution can we make towards that? In addition to the schools, we're also looking at university, TVET colleges, community colleges, everywhere where there are students and where there's an education institutions. And that is part of the approach towards a people's-led dialogue, so that we have that conversations as South Africans in a similar way that the Women's Charter as well as the Freedom Charter came together and went and asked everybody, what do they think about the future of South Africa? All of these citizen-led dialogues, the ward-based dialogues, the student dialogues in schools and universities and colleges will then culminate in what we call 9 thematic dialogues. So every province will host 1 or 2. Say, for example, on the economy. How do we tackle this problem of unemployment? How do we make sure that our country, instead of exporting 83% of our minerals raw, how do we make sure that we beneficiate? Comrade Pumzile is also a member of the panel of the wise of the African Union, and also, I think, chairing the AU reforms. And one of the things that the African Union has is something called the African Pharmaceutical Action Plan. And the reason why the AU developed it was because we are a huge consumer of medicines, but we only manufacture about 2% of what we consume. So we import and we import and we import from across the world, but we only manufacture about 2%. I don't know what the percentage is of the medicines and medical services in South Africa that we manufacture, but we need to change that. And this is all what our thematic dialogues need to address, building on what we will do on the local and sectoral dialogues, or to ask the question about the land. How do we make sure that we accelerate land reforms, but also making sure that our land is productive so that young people want to go into agriculture, that women want to go into agriculture, but not just agriculture, but also, we've got a huge ocean economy. Do we have shipbuilders in South Africa? Is that something that as our young people are aspiring to? Because something like 90% of trade in the world move via the oceans. But as Africans, we're not really in that space. So our national dialogue has to look at all of those issues, to look at what are the problems that we face with our policies over the last 30 years, with implementation, with leadership, with governance, with democracy. And it's a conversation that we all need to be part of. Because at the end of the day, when the Freedom Charter said that the people shall govern, it meant that the people we have to be part of our development. We have to be part of making sure that if I go to work and I am a teacher, that when I teach in my class, whether it's English or isiZulu or mathematics or physics or whatever, that I see that as part of building the nation, of bringing up the next generation, and not just simply about that I'm, going through the curriculum and just, marking it off, but that it's part of contributing towards the South Africa that we want. Our Deputy President spoke about the important role of women and the important role of young people. At the end of the day, the national dialogue will not work if young people do not embrace it. Because at the end of the day, you are the majority in the country. The majority of our population are young. The majority of the unemployed are young people. And at the end of the day, the solutions to our problems, you have to be part of those solutions, because at the end of the day, you are the present, but you're also the future. We may not be here in 30 years' time, but you will be here and you will inherit that future. And this is why it's important to start building that future today. And particularly for young women. Because at the end of the day, no country can play with half its team. Women makes up 50% of the population, or more than 50% of the population. It's stupid to play with half your team, where you bench half of your team and you decided that you just play with 5 men because they're strong and they've been doing it all the time. We need to play with all of our team, and the national dialogue is an opportunity for all of us to get involved, for all of us to play a role, for all of us to play a role in terms of shaping the country. And as the generations of the Women's Charter, the generations of the Freedom Charter that our Deputy President spoke about, the generations of the UDF, the generations of that went to CODESA and brought us the democracy of 1994 have done, we all have a role to play. And I don't know, was it Fanon that said that every generation must define its mission? And I think that part of your mission is to make sure that the national dialogue is a reset for our country and for the future that we want, as envisaged in our Freedom Charter. Thank you very much, and Amandla.
Thank you so much, Comrade Phoebe, for that. There's so much to take from it. I think one of the reasons the national dialogue is because of the misinformation. And I think I was having this conversation with a friend of mine earlier during the week, and I said, there's so much misinformation around the national dialogue, especially on social media. And the problem is that most of our young people are on social media. But this actually is so informative of what the national dialogue actually seeks to achieve. And it's not just a talk show, but it is a reset button, like you're saying. So now I think we're going to go to questions and comments. And I think we've heard a lot from the lecture. We've heard a lot from the respondent, Comrade Phoebe, and now we're just going to take questions from the floor, but also from, I keep forgetting, our online people. We're also going to take questions from them as well. We would prefer you here, but it is what it is. So we're going to take hands for people who have questions. I'm seeing one. So I don't know how, I'm not sure if Kifenzo, you're going to assist me with this. You're going to assist me. Okay, so we have a question from the back. You are one. Number 2, Komisa with the red. Can you please raise your hands very high so it makes it easy for me? Okay, 2. Number 3, Comrade Deco. Number 4, leader. Number 5, you. Number 6. And number 7. I think maybe we'll have the first round. I know that sometimes people get excited after they've heard the inputs and then, they'd want to share. So we'll have a second round. Do we have any questions online? Second round, we'll check the online. Okay, yeah, so our online people will come to you. Yes, the first question. Okay, and we're giving you 2 minutes, so I'm very strict. Not a very nice person.
Mandla, good evening. Thank you so much for the lovely address, Deputy President, as well as the respondent. My name is Molatelo Racheku, and I am from the African Youth Advisory Network. So we are a youth-led organization that is focused on policy engagement and youth civic education programs. I have 2 questions. Number 1 is, how can youth movements balance activism with policy advocacy to sustain democratic renewal? That's number 1. Number 2, what frameworks can help bridge the intergenerational divides in leadership and civic participation? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for those questions, Komisa.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chairperson of the session. My name is Hoshi Kaunda Mashiro. I'm part of your group, of course. That's why you call me Commissar. But mine will be a question. Let me firstly welcome the submission made by Comrade Pumzile. Wonderful, thought-provoking, as you are saying. And she actually spoke about the two issues, the ANC by itself and the state. She raised the issue of Comrade Peggy Kele during the day, addressing us on the issue of the special task force, 50 plus 23, 50 from the army, 23 from the South African police, and the ANC with regard to its position in the society now. Now, my question is of this nature. I once asked Comrade Phoebe this one, and she didn't answer me in a proper context. Now she's sitting here, she will assist. Comrades, as the ANC former leader of society, we are not leading the society now. We are at 40%. Are we running the ANC strictly for it to be running the state correctly? Why do we find ourselves where we are under the current material conditions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Komisa. I was about to stop you.
Away two. My name is Komoto Dekokwabe from Deep Slot. Mine is to reflect on the what Comrade Deputy President said. Is to say the history that we have learned and we have of the ANC, it's very rich. But the current values that we see out of leadership, it's very demoralizing, and we find ourselves where we are. So when are we doing assessment of the leadership that we have, the leadership that we want to see? The principal mentioned that we have a long way to go, but are we actually putting a policy that will assess that to check where we're going? Then to Comrade Phoebe, the national dialogues and word-based dialogues, I just want to ask a question. How will we actually measure them in terms of the development? Because we'll always have programs. Let me make an example of the IDP. The communities will speak, then the implementation will also be not measured or not be implemented. So my question is around that. When we start having those engagements, when we're going to provoke engagements and participation of people, how will we measure that? Thank you.
Thank you, young person.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luyanda Tumisa. My question is are we in a good condition to hold the national dialogue while we're having Madlanga Commission, while we're having ad hoc, while there's so much happening in our country? Do we have the psychological ability to deal with the multitude of events that are taking place, and whether or not would it be influenced by the things that are taking place in Parliament and in Madlanga, the national dialogue? Thank you very much.
Thank you, leadership. You are number 4. Yes, you are. I don't know what number, but you're next.
Thank you, and greetings to everyone. My name is Rudolf Shikwe. and I'm from an organization in Diepsloot called Gemini Pro, and I'm also a feminist. Yeah. So mine is just while the deputy president, Ms. Muga was giving the address, just gave me a reflection to say, what culture of leadership are we producing in our country? Because recently, when we look at people like O.R. Tambo, they give us a culture and values and principles of leadership. What went wrong in terms of getting those principles and values transferred to other leaders that are currently leading us? I know Mr. Makura might argue with me when I say other leaders, as we are all leaders, but the people that are in power on making decision, how do we ensure, Hore, we go back to the same values and principles that the people that give us the freedom that we are having today and the democracy that we are having today, how do we get them to be accountable for that? And then also on a reflection, I looked at the leadership style that ruled us back then. There was a time when we ruled by Amakos, and each and every leader was initiated before they could lead. What is the initiation process of our leaders that are given today to be able to carry the people and the principles that need to be implemented in terms of those leadership? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, feminist.
Amanda. Yeah. Thank you for the presentations. Two questions to the Deputy President. One takeaway lesson was that leadership, you must be a role model. And I think in our training of shop stewards, we also tell them the same thing, that as leaders in the workplace, they must be exemplary. So we are on the right track. But the question that I have is that given the generation of O.R. Tambo, Abu Albert Lutuli, Joe Slovo, later Chris Hani, they were selfless. They used the slogan, freedom in our lifetime. They fought for democracy. And the deputy president said, somewhere, somehow, we dropped the ball. I want to check where and where exactly did we drop the ball? What is wrong with the current leadership? Why can they not adopt the same practices of being selfless? The second question, I know we romanticize these African problems, African solutions, but I want to ask from Comrade Katrina, Germany is part of a very stable democracy that in their social democratic principles, maybe, given what she has observed and known about Africa as a whole, because her experience is not only in South Africa, what is it that perhaps some of the practices that we can adopt or learn from? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissar. That was the last. Oh, how do I forget you? Oh, you're the last one. Okay.
Sorry. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matilda Ntaga from Diepsloot. Okay, I would like to thank our president, our former deputy president, Omama, for the beautiful speech. And as well as I would like to know what's going to happen, a way forward for this, for us, what's going to happen to us, especially the youth. We're always saying the youth, but we always have that red line 35. What are we going to do about that? What about those ones who are 35 and above? Are we ignoring them? What part of, what can I say? Where do they fall? Because they're not old, they're not youth, but they just passed youth. What are we going to do about those people? Are we forgetting about them? Because lately it seems like we're forgetting about them. When are we going to have that dialogue, and what steps are going to be taken further for them? And also, I'll also like to thank our lady next to Mama for the beautiful things that she said. Also, it's been a problem that the youth also have been talking about. When is South Africa going to start to do more here? Why do we have to import everything in order to pay it back to come back? Because that's like we taking it to them, then we paying them to bring it back to us. When will that start in South Africa so that we do our own instead of taking what's precious to us and giving it to them and buying back to them? Thank you.
And then we have the last one. Just thought you'd know she's the only person you clap for, and she's a woman. Just I know. You're the last one, my leader. Ne? Please be quick, because there's someone who's telling me that time is not on our side.
No, thank you very much. Truly appreciate the opportunity. My name is Mafule Muswani. To everyone in the room, especially the former Deputy President, the respondents and everyone. Mine, it's simple and it's in this fashion. I think as I come to the question I want to pose, I want to say the time is always right to do what is right. So even in the midst of the crisis that we are facing, I think it will allow us to unearth and even, breathe the trauma in our hearts. It's okay. We need to deal with the matters. My question then is, I've had a privilege of being a professor of leadership in America to teach them leadership, hardly so in South Africa. But my question, I know my mother there is an educationalist. She said we opened the room, the wolves came in. And fundamentally because we haven't taught the values of our people to our people. So in imagining a future of this nation of ours that we love, how and when are we going to teach and infuse the curriculum of leadership in South African basic education and subsequently higher education? Noting, and I'm left with 30 seconds, right? It's 10 years since Feast Must Fall. Those voices matter. How are we bringing the decolonized education? Because it's the one that speaks about Ubuntu. If we haven't taught the children about Motuki Motukabatu, we can't expect them to treat the next person nicely. The problem is that the education, we have outsourced it. Even the books that we read today, they are not written, unfortunately, by us. So my question, my sister Chair, and I'm giving you back the microphone. Please. We need timelines of when and how, because the dialogue can advance for many generations. But I think if we set ourselves goals, targets, and clarify the purpose of how it can be, we'll do ourselves a great justice. My name is Mafule, and I'm interested to participate in this course. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Mafule. I think in the interest of time, we will go online. I'm not sure if the online questions are ready, and then we'll just have the responses, So we won't have a second round, unfortunately. We'll start with Koketso, okay? Did Koketso write, or she's going to speak? He or she is going to speak, okay.
Good evening,
Koketso,
Program Director.
you can go ahead. We are all listening to you.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and good evening to all the comrades. Thank you so much, Comrade, former Deputy President, and Comrade Phoebe Potgieter. Malibongwe igama lamakhosikazi, malibongwe Um, I have two questions. My first question will go to the first. It will go to the former deputy president about patriarchy. Patriarchy is a serious problem. As much as we can speak about it outside, but it starts within our households. How a girl child is raised compared to a boy child in a household. Former DP, I would like us that as much as Comrade Phoebe has spoken about dialogues in branches going, as much, can it be made? Because we cannot fight this sickness in offices and in other places, whereas it starts within our whole households, whereby it spreads virally to our communities. So, as mothers ourselves, and being in leadership, really, we need to be vocal about it. And that's how we are going to fight this ailment. As a corporate program director has said it, that patriarchy is not only within us, it even affects them as men. And my second question, again, it will go to Comrade Phoebe Potgieter about the national dialogue. Thank you very much for the clarity. It really opens minds. And now my question goes to you is, as much as we speak about going to the branches, how are we going to break this tendency of lack of information to go to branch members? Because we find ourselves that we are broken into pieces. We do not even have a directive because branches are not even functional. Information does not go to the members so that they can be engagements. And the issue of the reset button. It is of paramount importance that we find ourselves in this reset button for the renewal so that we can go forward. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Comrade Koketso. Do we have any other question? Miriam. Miriam, over to you. Miriam, you can unmute. You are left with 1 minute, 30 seconds of your time. Miriam, can you unmute? Okay, maybe let's look at, do we have any other hand? The last one will then be Ngeba. Ngeba, can you unmute? Ngeba? Okay.
Thank you, Program Director. And also, I would like to welcome also the excellent presentation by the former Deputy President, Comrade Pumzile, and also the inputs made by Comrade Phoebe. I've got a few comments and some questions. The first one, it regards unemployment in this country. It's very high. My intake is that capitalism is contributing to this high rate of unemployment. And why are the SOEs utilized as an intervention to minimize the negative impact of capitalism? Okay, number two, Comrade Pumzile talk about UDF. I think it was a pillar of unity. But now in this movement, we find that there's no unity as work with the alliance. It is in tatters. What is it that we can do? What can we learn to the principles of Pan-Africanism? Number three, the question of education. Does the ANC have an influence on the skills which are developed by these higher institutions? Because my belief is that it's supposed to influence universities and technicals or technical college to the skills, the skills which are needed by the country. And maybe subsidize those institutions which offer skills which are needed. And then another comment I have is this one. What can we learn from the Bruder Bond? The Bruder Bond, they supported education, they supported their people, and then would make sure that they occupy the universities, because it is very, very important, the issue of knowledge production. In our country, as the ANC, maybe we just allow things to happen. We've got no influence. Lastly, the land question. It's a problem. It's high rate of unemployment. And why are we not utilizing the land bank to empower Africans, to empower Blacks, so that we can get that land which was taken away as a result of the Land Act of 1913? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Comrade Ngeba. I saw some two naughty people raising their hands. I'm not sure, maybe it's because I had said we are going to have a second round and they relaxed. So I'm going to give you an opportunity because I'm generally a nice person. But I'm going to give you a minute.
Sorry.
Literally, a minute. To the two of you, I've seen your hands. You can just, but for a minute or 30 seconds. Don't give us context. Just go straight to your question.
Sorry, Mantombi. If you
And then we'll come to you, Giffens. You'll read the chat.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Yes. 30 seconds.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson of the session. My name is Noel Patlane. I'm representing the World Federation for Trade Unions, WAFTU. Now, just two issues that which I wanted to raise my questions in relation to. Number one, unemployment. I want to check with the former president that insofar as unemployment is concerned, this year alone, we're talking of about 800,000 plus matriculants will be writing. But the capacity of institutions of higher learning is less than 250,000, right? 250,000. What measures can be deployed there? Myself, I'm a mine worker. 2 a.m., I'm underground. But institutions of higher learning are closed 2 a.m. The second one, in relation to the national dialogue. If the purpose of the national dialogue is to talk about the South Africa we need, what about the South Africa we envisioned in 1955? What about the South Africa we envisioned prior 1994? If there are any resolutions contrary to the Freedom Charter, which ones is government going to prioritize? And the last issue.
You said you had two questions.
Yeah, but the last issue is just a comment. Okay. It's on propaganda and agitation aspect of the revolution,
sure,
which we believe, for somewhat reasons, we might have neglected that aspect. Each and every time the African National Congress is attacked and we are not found to be defending. In actual fact, young people who are part of those who are joining, those who are attacking the ANC and its leadership. And of course, we must not be misconstrued or misunderstood for having said that the ANC is perfect. Yes, there are challenges, but we equally have the good things to talk about. Insofar as what the ANC has done up to where we are. But I think we need to encourage our fellow comrades and the alliance to continue defending the ANC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, leader. And then we'll come to you, Gifenzele.
Thank you. My name is Terence Polane Nzuza from Katlehong. Mine is very short, is to suggest that in the national dialogue, we do not leave the issue of the diaspora with specific issue of repatriation as part of the discussion. And I think I agree with the brother, with the sister, with regard to the issue of the missing middle, because I think I am part of the missing middle, and we've missed a lot of opportunities like Umsobomvu and stuff, and we don't feel like we're part of the youth. So yeah, if there can be a way of addressing those matters which create problems in the universities and things like that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Gifense, can you please read the chats first?
Thank you very much, Comrade Mantombi. The first question says, a question for Her Excellency Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa. Financial exclusion, especially for women, is the key to solidifying modern feminists.
how can Her Excellency Deputy President Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka utilize powerful institutions like the United Nations to galvanize international finance for inclusive growth, women on top? The second question, no, I think you all understand the context.
You know it very well.
A question for Principal of OR Tambo School, Comrade Premier Makura. The OR Tambo School must fast track the financial inclusion of all. How can we collaborate to enhance financial inclusion, especially at tertiary level? 800,000 matriculants will need access to education as enshrined in the Constitution. Principal, please advise. Good evening, compatriots. This is, I didn't read out the names, so I apologize for that, but I'll just continue in that fashion. The country is in an era where violence is overruling the law enforcement, and the ANC is finding itself in a corner where comrades are in commissions answering questions, then address this challenge, and at the same time take the message of hope and transformation to society, especially because we are heading to local government elections. My name is Rodi from Etwatwa in Davidton. I represent South African Taxi Drivers Workers Union. Which mechanism can the ANC use for revival of the organization to come back to its origins? Okay. Question to Deputy President. Does it hurt to see the state of our country today? The question in today's time is, how do we go forward in the spirit of Ubuntu? How do we actually find our role models while they are busy, while they buy their way to the top? What is that core that made all of you to stand in unity? I guess what was the core in the past that made the leadership to be united? I think let's leave it at that.
Yes, thank you. I was about to say that. So thank you very much for those questions. I think we had one question for yourself, Catherine. So I think I want to ask you to come and respond to your question. And then immediately after yourself, we'll then have Comrade Phoebe. And then former president will then be the last to respond to the question. We're fine with that. No? Okay, so Comrade Catherine, can you please come forward? You had, yeah, or you, I don't know.
Thanks a lot. Comrade Alfred, I'm sorry to disappoint, but no, I can't share lessons. I mean, I think Germany's democracy is also only 80 years old. Before that, we have waged 2 wars on the world. And that is also the only reason why we are not seen as a colonialist, but we lost our colonies because we lost wars. So I sometimes feel we're looking a bit too positively on Germany. And when I'm looking at the democracy, the state of the democracy in Germany today, I'm very concerned, very worried about where we are going, with people being even more frustrated with the politics, the democracy, than here. I think that there is less hope in politics, and people are turning to right-wing politics instead of fighting the billionaires that are actually not allowing for people to thrive. They're fighting people from other countries that actually come to our country, and by the way, the economy does need it. So sorry to disappoint, but what I do believe that people need in Germany, in South Africa, and anywhere in the world is to a caring state that makes sure that the welfare of the people is at the center, that the agency of the people, that people can use their agency in their context, and that they can be part of shaping the society. And therefore, I'm also really looking forward to what the Deputy President has to say about how an Ubuntu democracy could look like, because I feel that we can learn a lot from that, and we have to learn the lessons as Germany, because I don't know where else we're going and how we are developing. So I'm passing on the mic back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to leave the difficult questions to the Deputy President. So I'll just respond to some of the questions, mainly those dealing with the national dialogue. Can I just say that there are three pillars which I suppose is called impact pillars, which the national dialogue needs to achieve, and it's built around 3 R's. So the first one is radical change. So radical change in terms of our values. Oh, is that my radical change in terms of our values? Radical change that's needed to be able to move us forward. And when that particular impact principle was elaborated, there was quite a bit of hesitance, particularly from those of us who are older, who said like, okay, what kind of radical change do you want? But eventually it was accepted that if we're saying that we're facing these deep problems, we can't tinker at the edges. There can't be any holy cows. The question about, say, for example, financial inclusion, the question is asked to the Deputy President, how will we bring in international financial institutions? But the reality is that South Africa does not have a big money problem. We have trillions in our financial sector. It's not invested in the economy, in the productive sectors. We don't know. I mean, I know one bank has this advert that say that 1 million small businesses. How many of those are young people? How many of those are women? How many of those are in townships in rural areas? So those are the part of the questions and the conversations that we will have to have during the dialogues. And that's why the one principle, looking at radical change, we must not leave any stone unturned. The second principle is to rebuild and heal. And somebody asked the question, we want to go to halls and we want to go to conference rooms, but what about in our families? And I think that the rebuilding is really about how do we deal with the trauma? Because as a country, we have very deep intergenerational trauma. So our parents were traumatized because of apartheid. You know, there's a talk that the former statistician general, I always find difficulty with this word, Dr. Pali, made, and he made the point, he looked at the different, the levels of education of the different national groups in our country. And he made the point that one of the things about the reason that your Indian community is even more advanced than whites in terms of higher education is because apartheid didn't impact on Indian families to the same extent as other families, particularly black families. And therefore, that's one of the issues. So part of what we will have to do as we talk about the national dialogue is also to look at how do we heal families? How do we deal with the intergenerational trauma that we face as a nation? So I grew up in a family, your parents fought, or your father was not around, or your mother was not around, and all of a sudden you're a parent. Which example do you follow of parenting? So the question about rebuild is an important issue, and it starts with the family, it starts with community, it starts within sectors, and eventually healing our nation. So the rebuilding is the second part, and then the third one is about rapid response. Because we can't just talk and there's sewer flowing in the street. Or there are problems that students face at university, they can't buy food because the NSFAS hasn't come. Or the 800,000 students that we talk about. So it's rebuild, radical change, and rapid response to be able to respond to the immediate issue as we having the conversation. One of the comrades asked the question, so why do we need to have this conversation as a nation again? Can't we just implement the Freedom Charter and CODESA's agreement and the Constitution. But part of the reality is that society has changed. When in 1993, we adopted the Reconstruction and Development Program, there was something from my generation, I was in the Youth League at the time, they told us that we are a lost generation because we came from, long periods of school boycotts, etc. Now we're talking about a missing middle. So yes, those values that we stand for, that the people must govern, that there must be housing, security and comfort, that the doors of learning and culture must be open in the Freedom Charter are still relevant. But part of what we need to do is to say, what does it mean for today? In terms of the circumstances that we have, the road that we've traveled over the last 30 years and where we are. The final point that I want to respond to is the gentleman that asked the question about how can we have a national dialogue psychologically when we're listening to the ad hoc committee and the commissions. And I just want to remind ourselves, and we asked the same question to Ntate Sisulu and Mandela in 1990, how can you talk to the Boers when young people in KZN and PWV were dying in trains, people being shot, people being massacred, etc. And we asked the same question to the leadership of the ANC as the Youth League and say, but how can you talk when our people are dying? And their answer was that we have to deal with bringing an end to the violence, but we need to find sustainable solutions. So we don't have a choice but to talk and find a solution. And we will have to do the same. That yes, there are revelations at the commissions and the ad hoc committee, but we must find solutions to the problems in our country and work together to be able to implement those solutions. The final point that I want to respond to is the question about how will we ensure that we don't have, like the IDPs, no implementation. One of the suggestions that we're making is that we must learn from one of the working programs in our country, which is the program against HIV and AIDS. Remember, I mean, those of you that are old enough will remember in 1992, 1993, it was said that millions of South Africa will die, that we will have a massive, massive social problem because of orphans. But as a country and as a nation, after initial lots of debates, we took a decision that we're going to have education around HIV/AIDS and we're going to have a treatment program. But in addition to that, we also set up something called the South African National AIDS Council that consists of government, the Department of Health, the Department of Education, local government, civil society, business, everybody. And every year they report back on how far are we with this program. And during the year they implement. Now that is a successful example because if you look at our mortality rate or life expectancy today. In 20 years ago, I think it was about 57 because of the HIV/AIDS pandemic. Today, we over 60, 61. We've seen improvements in our life expectancy because of the fact that people are no longer dying because of AIDS like 20, 15 years ago. So our suggestion is that with regards to the national dialogue, we should look at the same kind of institution arrangement where you have a structure that brings everybody together, that once a year on National Dialogue Day must report back on saying that we've agreed on this. Why is it not happening? What are the problems? So that all of us are being held accountable for the outcomes of the national dialogue. So that's part of what we will have to discuss and debate in the coming months around the national dialogues. You may have better ideas about how do we ensure accountability, but that is what's on the table at the moment, and what we're saying is that we need to learn from what worked. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. There was a question on youth activism and engaging in policy making. I think it's very important for young people to be involved in policy making because remember, policy is what governs you. And if there's an opportunity to influence policy, it's important to influence it because it's going to come back and bite you. Young people may not like the big books and the many meetings that you have to sit through in order to participate in policy making. But actually, we can lighten up the process by which we make policy. And I think here in South Africa, at different times, we have tried to do that. And in the ANC in particular, we had different groups that were looking at different policies. I guess at the level of the Youth League, it's important to replicate those structures and to make sure that the leadership of the Youth League is always aware when there's an opportunity to influence policy, to then garner ideas from the membership. But beyond that, some other youth organizations that are engaged in policy, they must also help young people to understand policy. So really my emphasis is that be there because policy will be made, policy becomes law, and if you break the law, then you're in trouble with the law. So you know what I'm saying. And then somebody asked about if we are running the country correctly. Does the ANC get into government to run the country, and is it doing it correctly? Well, we are not doing it very well right now. Not everything is bad, but we are way off the mark that we had set for ourselves. And this is not something we can be light about. And for me, I also don't think that we should just rely on the ANC because I think the ANC is so challenged. It's too much to expect at the state at which we are in. The ANC has to learn to work with other people. I wish it was not the DA, but Sizotin. But we really, as we're talking about the Freedom Charter, talking about how it was inclusive, and now the dialogues. We need an inclusive process even in our government, but something that is more inclusive than what we see with the DA. I think it's not important that the people who must lead us, the whole cabinet has to be someone who's wearing green, black, and gold. It has to be a good South African who knows the job, who's loyal to the state. Because ultimately, the country is more important than a party. If our country collapses, this is trouble for everybody. That is unimaginable. But for our case in South Africa, you also don't want the ANC to collapse because the ANC plays a very important role in sustaining the state. So it's a bit of a tension. But for the people we have in the ANC, I just feel we just don't have enough people to turn this country around right now who are willing to stand up and to be counted. So we have to canvass all South Africans who want to do something good. And also, I feel we have to ease up on being too party political in such a way that anyone who's not in my party is bad. And then we spend a lot of time sniping at each other. And we even miss people that we can. I used to be like that, but I've come a long way to realize that, you know what? I have to count my blessings. I have to learn to work with other people. I don't have to work with the people that I always agree with. I have to work with the people who who want to make the country work. So these are the choices that we have to make. But I can still belong to the party I choose. But when I get into a school and we have to address the issue of the curriculum, angikwazi ukuqoqa abantu be-ANC. Ithi we are the ones who are going to do that. And if there's no mathematician in that group ANC, then ngizamjonga umuntu we-IFP ngingafuni ukudilisha naye because, so we really have to ease up and become more inclusive. And that is going to enhance our capacity to run the country correctly and to have the results that we want. And again, I want to say all of this needs young people. Young people also need to demand and define what they want, because believe it or not, we do listen to young people. We do listen to young people. It worries me when young people are not talking because sizawulahleka. So be there, say your piece. Buddha Buddha, but say your piece. Yeah, it's important. And then there was a question about the leadership culture and the selflessness of the likes of O.R. Tambo, which was not transferred to the current leadership. It obviously did not happen overnight. It's been getting eroded bit by bit, but I think now we've just reached a point where something has to give. It just cannot continue like this. The investment into people that are going to lead us is important. People have to be prepared to get into leadership. And we must have the honesty to tell our leaders when they are misleading us, we say, hayi kabi, sicela nisuke manje. So that we can, and we don't have to do that in a fighting manner. We have to be very clear about what it is that is needed. And then we must not choose people in our cabal. We have to find the best people to do the job. In Nigeria, there's a school called the School of Politics and Governance. I think maybe you might know it. It's led by Obi, who was the deputy of the World Bank at some point. She came back from there, and then she became the Minister of Petroleum in Nigeria. And then she became also Minister of Education, and then she ran for president. And I don't know why she was shocked, but she was shocked at the level of corruption in the running of the campaigns and so on. She was so disgusted. She dropped out of the race and she decided, you know what? I'm going to start a school to teach people who want to get to politics. Why do you do it? The school is a postgraduate course. It takes 1 year. You can do it online. And it teaches about the ethics of governing people, accountability, etc., etc. She says when they admit students at the beginning of the year, by the quarter of the first of the year, maybe about 20% have dropped out of the course because they say, Kanti, this is what leadership means. This is how good I have to be. But I know. But I think that is good when people decide for themselves rather than staying and then getting there and then messing up. So I also think that here in South Africa, we need something like that, where everyone who's going to be leader is tested before they get into leadership and is made to understand. We probably cannot do it for everybody, but we must make it possible for people to be helped to prepare themselves. The missing middle. I think one of the saddest things in South Africa, and I think in many other African countries, It's the young people who will get up to their 30s and their 40s sometimes without ever having a job. So they've never really transited being youth because they are still in some way dependent. They still need to get support. I don't think that this is an easy problem to solve. We don't have ready-made solutions for. There's no playbook for this. We have to create the playbook. I guess we also are not doing well with teaching entrepreneurship, something that is very important because those are some of the skills these young people need. If they are lucky enough to have gone to school, to be in jobs, that is the time for them to begin climbing the ladder. If they are in a job situation, that is the time they should be in professional organizations. They should be raising their hands. They should be asking the right questions. They should really distinguish themselves. And I think it's important that young people must never, ever finish learning. Not just young people, all of us. Even nami, ngiyafunda njengoba ngugogo ngingaka. Because there's so much new knowledge that is out there, that is coming. And the more you learn is the more you realize, I don't know. There's so much to learn. You must never have the satisfaction of knowing. Once you do that, you begin to go down because you lose the opportunity to expand your horizon. So if anything, for those young people who may be feeling they cannot find direction, don't forget to use some of your time to learn something. And there's a lot of things that you can learn online these days. And ngiyazi ngiyayithanda internet. And it is one way that you can actually maybe identify a skill that you have in you that you're not even aware of, and try things that you haven't tried before, because you don't really know, which side your bread is buttered. On this question of education and the size of our higher education and the number of students that needs higher education, generally Africa has a small higher education system. The UNESCO has been raising this and complaining that the growth and development of Africa is being strangled by the fact that we have a very small higher education system. And most countries, ourselves included, we don't have the money to build new universities, not even at the pace that we need to. So one of the things that some of us have been pushing, and we're going to be pushing it even at the G20, is expanding the online learning so that young people in Africa can learn from universities anywhere in the world where online education is being offered, as long as obviously you have to check that it's quality education. And right now, during the G20, we will be talking to the other countries who agree with us about how we finance that, because some of the students that we will need to get into that platform are students who also don't have money. I've asked the telcos like Vodacom, MTN, but also ask the other telcos all over the continent, can you make sure that you zero rate the materials that the students will need so that education is possible and available for any person who wants it? We remove all the barriers of access, and then in that way, we will be able to get many young people. Please keep your fingers crossed that we succeed to get this going, because it could really open possibilities for many young people. And also, this is a chance for many of you to also choose the courses that are relevant for what the labor market wants, so that you don't end up with a degree that takes you nowhere. We are asking the universities that we are asking to offer themselves to make sure that they make the courses that will give the appropriate skills to be the ones that are as available as possible. So watch that space. I hope it is going to lead something. I think there will be leaders of student bodies at that event of the G20, and I hope they will take the information throughout. We are also looking for universities in Germany to come on board. We're looking for universities in the US. We're looking for universities in Asia and here in Africa, because we also still have many universities who have overcapacity for the people they have in their own countries. Here, we have more people and we have undercapacity. So we are trying to mediate that so that we can use all that capacity that exists. Patriarchy, it's a collective responsibility. Ne? It's not just a responsibility for women. I think it really warms my heart to see this young feminist who's sitting there. Because really, if men were to take this issue of gender equality seriously, we could break the back. We have a challenge now that we have a strong man in DC who is perpetuating gender inequality and is giving permission in the manner in which he does things to many countries that want to deny women their rights, taking away women's reproductive rights. What we gained in Beijing is being taken back by Trump. Can you believe that if we were to have the biggest women's conference that the world has ever had, happened in 1995, 1 year after we got our democracy, we had a big delegation from South Africa, which was led by Nkosazana, together with other African women. They made large contributions in Beijing, which gave us what is called the Beijing Platform for Action, which outlines issues of gender equality. And the African women in that conference, they really agitated for girls and women. And they said, don't tell us that we've got children. We have boy children and boy child. A girl child is oppressed because she's a girl. She's forced to get married to an older person because she's a girl. She's genitally mutilated because she's a girl. She's denied food in some household because she's a girl, because the boy must eat and be strong. She's denied education because a boy must get the education, because as a girl, she will go and live this family. So what's the use of educating her? So all of those were decisions that governments were taking together for the first time, because most countries of the world at that time, 30 years ago, did not have policies on gender. And even GBV was not a crime in most countries. We were able to turn that around, and now we have this dispensation that we have. But now we need men to buy in and to make sure that we deepen the implementation of all the policies that have to deal with that. And you know why we were able to win in Beijing and win big? It was because of the geopolitics of that time. At that time, the government in the US was Bill Clinton, and the delegation from the US was led by Hillary. And she was able to represent America. Can you imagine now going to Beijing and having a delegation led by Melanie or some other Trump or Ivanka? What a disaster we would have. So we also need to remember that when we fight for gender equality, we must have alliances, because gender equality thrives when other rights are being protected. When we protect the rights of disabled people, when we fight racism, when we fight discrimination because of sexual orientation, all of those rights are together. A feminist is someone who's able to tackle all of that and the rights of men and handle them all together. So it is important for men to be with women in this struggle, because it is their struggle too. And we will not obviously be giving them a high price for fighting for gender equality, because we don't praise fishes for swimming. It is your responsibility. You just have to do it as well. And we have to start young, because prejudice starts at around 3 years old. Girls begin to see themselves as different. Boys begin to think that they're better, and then all hell breaks loose after that. I will make an unnecessary long speech about this, so let me just leave it. There's a question about the disunity and the disunity also that we all are already seeing even in the alliance. It breaks my heart. It really is painful. Right now, we need everybody. We need everybody. And the tensions that we are having are really, really difficult, to the extent that you can, where you are, in the corner that you are in, do your best to try and mend the fences, because that's the saddest thing. This disunity is not good for all of us. There are no winners out of this. So we all have to try to save whatever we can of our movement and our alliance. The call for financial support in order to support and boost women, and for the United Nations to be considered as one organization that can supports that. I wouldn't go that route, because as you can see, the United Nations is going through such difficulties. It needs help. It needs you to finance it. But also in general, I think we have reached an era now where we need to be self-reliant and not depend on funding from overseas. Whatever we do, I think let's not look at what they can do for us. We have to look at what we can do in our own countries. We have to develop the resources that we have so that we can generate the financial well-being based on what has come from our own country. Africa, do you realize that these minerals that are needed for the new economy, the green economy, transition to energy, and a whole lot of things, the kinds of minerals that we are going to need in the world because of climate change, most of those minerals are in Africa. How Africa is not a poor continent. Africa has poor people because we've got poor leadership. We shouldn't be this poor in Africa if our leadership knew what it was doing. We have to have a dispensation in Africa that helps us to control the resources that we have. We have to add value on our minerals in Africa so that our minerals can generate resources for us in Africa. Otherwise, whether you are from the east or from the west, anyone who is coming here, they come to take and leave us with nothing. So Tina, we live in a continent, in a country that has got minerals that we just are looking at for someone else to come and take. And because we want investors, we open our country at our expense. So for you young people and making policy, think about how you are going to make sure, because some of these minerals will live for many years. You will need them. Protect them and make sure that we make policies that will make sure that we do not lose these minerals before your time. I think I've touched, and then about hope in a time of Madlanga. Yeah. But yeah, we can at the same time, being hopeless is a luxury we can't afford. But it is hard. It is hard to believe what has happened to our country. To fix it, it's going to need us. So all I can say, I just have bad news. We need you. We need us ourselves to be part of finding solutions, because this is a problem that we can we can fix, deep as it is, but we have to be so intentional, so determined. We have to be, the Tambo in you must come out now.
Sure.
The Tambo in you must come out now. That's all I would say. Thanks.
Sure. Can we give another round of applause, Mama? Mama, I think I must confess, I think I am a fan. I think I am a fan. I could listen to you all day. Mama says the Tambo in you must come out. The Tambo in you must come out. One of the things OR Tambo taught us is that dialogue, engagement, very critical. 2, unity. Mama's telling us that sometimes we don't have to work as comrades alone. We need to work with everyone, hands on deck. OR Tambo, and convince them, yes, Mama. You know, principled leadership. I think that's some of the things that came out very highly in today's discussion. So I've learned a lot. I wish we could listen to this, but this is online, right? We are able to just go back and just listen. You know, sifundile, angifuni ukungasho, sifundile kakhulu. Gifensa is going to do the vote of thanks. And then I think immediately there was a question for Principal while you had stepped out to the bathroom, but I think former president responded to that because I think the question was based on access to higher education, etc. But it was more specific because we were saying, what is OR Tambo? What's the plan for OR Tambo? So I think maybe Gifense in your vote of thanks, Gifense, the principal trusts you. He's saying, no, you are more than capable to answer that, to respond to that question. So I think, Gifensa, you'll do the vote of thanks and then Sommer close the session. Just going to quickly read. You are seemingly standing up selflessly does. It doesn't want me to read the profile. Okay, let's give a round of applause to, thank you very much for today.
Amanda, roar young lions roar, roar young lions roar. Thank you very much, Program Director. I deliberately stopped you from reading the bio because I understand that I'm the only person standing between this audience and whatever smallanyana thing we've organized for them. But also I'm conscious of the fact that we have young people here, and as you can look at the time, so they need to get back home. And with that said, would like to apologize. And I think, Principal, moving forward, we must organize these sessions on Saturdays during the day so that we can have sufficient time. Let me start by thanking you, Program Director, for the sterling work that you've done. Mantombi is also the youngest board member of the school. And she's actually chairing one of the statutory committees of the school. That is the Social Ethics and Risk Subcommittee. Am I correct? Audit and Risk, yes. Yeah, she's chairing that, but she's also grounded in the community. We all know of the Moving Spirits Book Club. She is the brainchild behind that and has been doing amazing work. So thank you very much for the stellar work that you did today and you continue to do in our communities. Secondly, let me thank you, former President Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, for the powerful, inciting, and inspirational lecture that you gave us today, including the responses. The first time I met you, we were at the first African Peace and Security Dialogue. I was sitting right behind you. And we actually took a picture and I said to you, one day we will work together. I guess that has been fulfilled today. But thank you very much for availing yourself. I must say that it was quite humbling that I did not need to make a lot of emails and I just sent one letter, and then that letter was responded positively. We truly appreciate that. I must say in thanking you that we were quite deliberate when we were shopping around as to who could actually give us this lecture as our first annual lecture, we're quite deliberate that it must be a woman. So the woman dominance that you saw here today was not by chance. It was carefully crafted. And the argument we made was that every time we hear about OR Tambo, it's always from male voices. And they always make this point that OR Tambo was a feminist, but women themselves never talk about this giant of our struggle and of our history. So we're quite deliberate. But also, the conversation around the national dialogue has been dominated by men. And maybe that's why it's going so wrong. So we had to make sure that we bring in the motherly voice so that it can bring sense to all of us. But lastly, we understood that we wanted to engage young people. And it is very important that that's why they are still here. They would have left a long time ago if it was a male voice. But understanding that it's a mother, they had to respect the city. So we truly, truly appreciate it. You have given the lecture beyond our expectation. We truly, truly appreciate it. Comrade Phoebe, I can't thank you enough. If there's one woman in the ANC who works like a machine, it's Comrade Phoebe. I think everyone who interacts with the ANC and its leadership and has seen the work of Phoebe can attest to this, that whenever she's called to an occasion, she never fails to rise to that particular occasion, and she thoroughly prepares. She doesn't just come for the sake. There are some people, before they even come, they want to check if there are people in the room. She was one of the first people to arrive today. But we also thank you for the work that you are doing in terms of the national dialogue itself. And I think in articulating the process, you have assisted us to find our role as young people within this particular dialogue. So we truly, truly appreciate the work that you do, not only when we call you to come and assist us, but the work that you do in the ANC. You are among the model of leadership that we must proudly and boldly put to society, that these are the kind of leaders that we want. Not people who just want to occupy positions, but when they are called to do the dirty work, they are not there. Leadership is about serving the people. And serving the people is not easy. It takes a lot of sacrifice. So we truly appreciate that you make that sacrifice every day. So thank you very much for the piecemeal that you gave us today. Let me also acknowledge the FES led by Comrade Catherine. Safe to say that the lecture that you are seeing today was actually conceptualized early last year. And when we took a concept note to FES, they did not hesitate. They said, we want to be part of this. And in fact, they've been pushing us, when are you going to do this thing? But unfortunately, as a result of many issues, objectively and subjectively, objective for the fact that the national dialogue itself was sort of dragging to start. But subjectively, there were leadership transitions in both institutions, both at the FES and at the OR Tambo School of Leadership. But we thank the fact that they did not waver, they supported us. On the 22nd of May, we were invited at FES at Lindiwe Mabuza space to actually celebrate the centenary of FES. So it is not by mistake that they are here and are supporting these initiatives. It's within their DNA. So we really acknowledge and are truly grateful for your commitment in progressive politics. We really acknowledge your commitment to principles of democracy. You have engaged with OR Tambo himself in the exhibition that you have made at the FES. There's a portion that is dedicated to your engagements with OR Tambo. So we are not surprised that today you've supported us, and we implore you to continue supporting these initiatives, particularly as it concerns the development of young people, because I think it was echoed throughout today that that's where we need to make the investment. So we truly appreciate you and the team. Even just now, we just roped in Mam Zanele, and she did not ask many questions. She was like, so we truly, truly appreciate your support. To our hosts today, Kosatu, Siabonga. We Siabonga Kakulu. on the 2nd of October, when we kicked off OR Tambo month, we were here doing a masterclass. And in his vote of thanks, the principal said, we are going to utilize the space. And I guess we mean business. We are going to utilize the space because we cannot be struggling for resources when resources are at our disposal. Sometimes we don't need money. We just need to work with what we have and make sure that we do what needs to be done. I think it was Mafule who said, there is no wrong time to do the right thing. It's always the right time to do the right thing. So we really thank you for availing this space. And I think the conversation, the quality of the conversation was accentuated by the fact that we are in this precise building. I'm not sure if we're somewhere else would have the quality of discussion that we had. So we truly, truly appreciate your support and for hosting us. Let me also thank the organizations represented here. The young people that you see here did not come as individuals. They came as particular organizations. And we're very deliberate in inviting them as organizations because this is not a once-off thing. In fact, Ma, you have assisted us launch an important process of starting to engage in the national dialogue quite seriously. We had taken it upon ourselves as the OR Tambo School of Leadership, as the principal said, that we cannot be bystanders in this process. We need to actively engage. And we said our focus is young people in particular, precisely because we want young people to actually give us solutions. I think we, as young people, we must take it upon ourselves to be quite deliberate in saying, this is our country, this is our future, this is the future of our children. And therefore, this is what we want to see. And that is not just a privilege, it's also a sense of responsibility for us to also go a bit deeper in the solutions that we propose. Least we become susceptible to counter-revolutionary forces and forces that are anti-progress who want to use our genuine concerns to rope us into their nefarious agendas. Because if we don't use the energy that we have to construct, someone is going to use it to distract. So we need to be deliberate about that. So the way forward in thanking you is that we will be inviting you as soon as November to actually engage in more nuanced sessions about what is it that we actually want to do in terms of the national dialogue, but also empower you with certain skills so that you can become megaphones who go and organize their communities to have this particular dialogue. The OR Tambo School of Leadership will just be a platform where you can come and ask for support. But the real work is you going to gather other young people and have this conversation, gather other old people in the organization, in your communities, and have this particular dialogue. So that when the second national convention comes and there's an account that there were what dialogues, we can boldly say as young people, we took part, we contributed, and we are sure that whatever that is being presented in that convention represents our views. So thank you very much for making the time. Let me also thank our service providers, in particular Lampro Event Solutions, who are streaming us live and have ensured that we have this quality sound that we have and a seamless conversation. But also there's Jatosh Foods, which is organizing snacks for us. So we really appreciate them. Lastly, let me also thank the OR Tambo School of Leadership, starting with the leadership and my colleagues. You know, the work that we do, you would think that there's 1,000 people at the school, when it's actually just 5 people, and I'm not exaggerating, well, literally just 5 people who do all of this work. There's the principal here. There's also Caesar Kele Dlamini there, who's been running around with the mics and assisting with the administration of registering people. There's also other colleagues that have joined us online. So we do this work precisely because we understand that we cannot afford not to do it. The cost of not doing it is far greater than the sacrifice of doing it. We need to do it, we need to amplify it, and we invite all of you to support the work that we do. We know that it's going to take a lot, but You know, sometimes it just takes the conviction and the commitment to do things. Because one of the things that keep delaying service delivery, implementation of policies, is because we want to have the perfect model first. Sometimes we just have to do things, test them as we do them, so that people can actually see that we're truly committed. So thank you very much to the colleagues at the school. Lastly, and finally, let me thank you, all of you as participants, because today would not be possible if you were not here. We truly, truly appreciate your presence. But beyond your presence, we appreciate the kind of discipline that we've seen. I think we've not seen many movements. You've been here, you've engaged, and also the contributions, including the people online. We truly, truly appreciate that particular participation. And we invite you to actually keep on supporting this work, because I'm sure today some people in this house have been transformed. Some people in this house have begun to find answers to the question, what is actually my purpose? What am I here to do? I hope that whatever came out of today empowers you to actually find your voice in society, find your role. You are not just a statistic. You are not just a victim. You are a potential, and you must not end as a potential. We must actually give that potential to society. So with that being said, I invite you to the snacks that we have organized, but also when you travel home, we wish you well, travel safe, and please follow us so that you can be informed about our next events. Thank you very much.
So we need to check and we need to move this so we can take a group picture. This one group photo. Comrades Zimbabwe. That's two to the gates. There we go. Anyone wants a picture? Anyone want a picture? The group one. Group one. If you are too short, you must be in front. Some blue, some green.